The first look at Heartland Season 19, Episode 5, starts off with a sense of tension we haven't felt in a while. You can tell from the very first few moments that this isn't going to be a cozy, horse training kind of episode. There's this strange energy around the ranch, like everyone's pretending things are fine, but deep down, they're all bracing for something to fall apart. Amy looks distracted, and not in her usual thoughtful way. It's that kind of quiet worry that tells you she's carrying more than she's letting on. Ever since the chaos with Caleb and Nathan in the last episode, you can almost sense the weight of unspoken words hanging in the air. Amy's trying to move forward, but there's this distance between her and everyone else, like she's physically present but her mind is somewhere else entirely. Now, from what we can tell, this episode dives right into the aftermath of that rough landing and emotional fallout we saw building up before. Caleb and Nathan might be safe, but their friendship? Not so much. The trailer shows just enough to make it clear that things between them are still tense. You can see that awkward, everything's fine act, but if you've watched Heartland long enough, you know that usually means the storm is just about to hit. Caleb tries to downplay it, of course, he always does, but the guilt is written all over his face. He's realizing that sometimes being the hero doesn't mean fixing things, it means owning up to your mistakes. And honestly, it feels like he's about to hit that wall where good intentions just aren't enough anymore. Meanwhile, Nathan seems to be taking a quieter approach, but his silence says more than any argument could. He's the type to bury things until they explode, and this episode might just be where that explosion happens. From what we've seen, there's a moment, blink, and you'll miss it, where Nathan looks at Amy with that same conflicted mix of admiration and frustration we've seen before. It's the kind of look that makes you wonder if his feelings for her are starting to resurface, or if he's just projecting his anger at Caleb onto her. Either way, something big is brewing, and I can't help but feel that Episode 5 will push both of these men to their breaking points. Back at the ranch, the energy feels different too. Jack seems unusually quiet, watching everyone with that calm, old-school wisdom of his, but even he seems unsure about what's coming next. Lou, as usual, tries to keep things moving and positive, but it feels forced this time. Like even she's tired of pretending that everything's under control. Lisa tries to offer support, but she's also keeping her distance, almost like she knows the family needs to face this one on their own. And then there's Amy's new challenge, the Olympian's horse. That's where the episode's tension really kicks into gear. This isn't just another training case. This is a make-or-break moment for her career. We all know how seriously Amy takes her work, especially when her reputation is on the line, but for the first time in a long time, it seems like she's genuinely unsure of herself. The horse doesn't respond, the usual Heartland magic doesn't click, and suddenly everyone starts whispering. What really gets me, though, is how this episode seems to mirror Amy's inner conflict. It's not just about fixing a horse, it's about fixing her confidence, her relationships, and the version of herself she's been clinging to since Ty's death. You can tell she's trying to prove that she's still the miracle girl, that she hasn't lost that spark that made her who she is. But as the episode unfolds, you can sense that she's fighting a losing battle against something much bigger. Doubt. It's subtle, but it's there in the way she hesitates, the way her voice shakes when she says she can handle it, the way she forces a smile when everyone else starts questioning her methods. And of course, as if things weren't complicated enough, Nathan steps in again. From what we've seen in the preview, he's determined to help Amy no matter what. He's there in the barn, late at night, offering advice, trying to calm her down, reminding her that she's not alone. But here's the thing. His timing couldn't be worse. Because every time he tries to help, Caleb seems to be watching from the sidelines, torn between jealousy and guilt. It's the kind of messy triangle that Heartland used to avoid, but now it's front and center. I don't know about you, but I'm both excited and nervous to see how the writers handle it. Will they turn it into another love conflict, or will they finally let Amy stand on her own without being someone's emotional anchor? That's the real question this episode seems to be teasing. Still, the most intriguing part of this first look isn't even about the relationships. It's about reputation. The Olympian, clearly frustrated by Amy's struggle to diagnose the horse, starts spreading rumors. It's subtle at first, maybe just a few words of doubt whispered into the wrong ears. But soon, it spreads like wildfire. You can almost imagine the look on Amy's face when she realizes people she's known for years are starting to question her skills. That's where the emotional weight really hits. This isn't just about one horse. It's about Amy's identity, everything she's built since she was a teenager. And when the community begins to turn against her, it forces her to confront something she's been avoiding for too long. What happens when being the miracle girl isn't enough anymore? By the end of the first look, we're left with more questions than answers. The tone feels heavier, more uncertain, and honestly, that's what makes it so gripping. Heartland has always been a story about growth and resilience, but this episode looks like it's about facing the kind of failure that changes everything. If the first few glimpses are any indication, Episode 5 is going to test Amy in ways we've never seen before, professionally, emotionally, and personally. And maybe that's exactly what this show needs right now, a reminder that even the strongest hearts can falter, but it's how they rise again that truly defines them. The more I think about it, the more I realize this episode isn't just another chapter in Amy's story. It's a turning point. The first look makes it clear that Heartland is pushing her to the edge in ways we haven't seen in years. Remember when Amy used to step into a barn, touch a troubled horse, and somehow everything just made sense again? That spark, that quiet confidence, was what made her so powerful. But in this episode, we see a completely different side of her, one that's unsure, defensive, and for the first time, scared of failing. And honestly, that's what makes it so hard to watch. It's like watching your favorite hero lose faith in their own superpower. Every glance, every hesitation feels loaded with the question, what if I'm not the same person anymore? And deep down, I think that's what Heartland is trying to make us feel. The fear of change, of losing the things that once defined us. But let's talk about Nathan for a second, because this guy's role in Episode 5 is shaping up to be way more complicated than it first appeared. In the early clips, he seems like the dependable one, stepping up when Amy starts to struggle. He helps around the ranch, offers his support, and even tries to take some of the workload off her shoulders. On the surface, it looks noble, the classic Heartland helper arc. But something about his behavior doesn't sit right. There's a certain intensity in his eyes, like he's not just helping out of kindness, but because he feels like he has to. Maybe it's guilt, maybe it's something deeper. After all, it wasn't that long ago that he was throwing Caleb under the bus, and now suddenly, he's the one trying to fix everything. It almost feels like Nathan is trying to rewrite his role in the family, to prove that he belongs. And honestly, I can't shake the feeling that his growing closeness to Amy might not just be emotional support, it might be an attempt to fill a space that's not his to fill. Caleb, on the other hand, is caught in that frustrating middle ground between pride and regret. From what the first look shows, he's struggling to keep it together. You can tell he wants to apologize, to clear the air with Amy and Nathan, but every time he tries, something holds him back. It's that typical Caleb thing. His emotions get the best of him. We see glimpses of him training with Ashley, trying to distract himself, but even then, his mind clearly isn't in it. Ashley tries to bring him back down to earth, reminding him of everything they've been through, but it's obvious their relationship is strained. You can feel it in their body language, that quiet distance between two people who used to understand each other without words. She's still hurt, still guarded, and the trust that once held them together feels paper thin now. And honestly, can we really blame her? Caleb's history with Amy has always been a shadow over their marriage, and in this episode, that shadow feels darker than ever. What's fascinating about this setup is how the writers seem to be flipping Heartland's usual emotional rhythm. Normally, the show builds up tension and then eases it with those warm, heartfelt resolutions we all love. A conversation by the fireplace, a quiet ride through the fields, a lesson learned. But here, it feels like they're doing the opposite. The warmth is missing, the smiles feel forced, and that's exactly what makes this episode so intriguing. It's uncomfortable, yes, but it's real. It's like the show is daring us to sit with the discomfort instead of escaping it. And then there's Jack, the quiet observer, the man who's seen everything but still manages to surprise us. From what we've glimpsed, Jack seems to sense that the family's balance is slipping. He doesn't say much, but his silence speaks volumes. There's a brief moment in the preview where he's sitting on the porch watching Amy in the distance, and you can just feel that something heavy is coming. He's the kind of character who always knows before everyone else that a storm is on its way, and his stillness here feels almost prophetic. I wouldn't be surprised if this episode becomes a moment where Jack finally steps in and reminds everyone what Heartland is truly about. Not fame, not rivalry, not proving yourself, but family. Because right now, everyone seems so focused on their own battles that they're forgetting what ties them together. Meanwhile, Lou finds herself in a tough spot once again. She's trying to mediate between everyone, but it's one of those rare times where even she doesn't have the answers. The mayor side of her wants to handle things diplomatically, to keep the peace. But the sister side of her just wants to shake Amy and tell her to stop carrying everything alone. You can tell Lou is tired, emotionally, mentally, maybe even physically. The cracks are showing, and it feels like she's one more argument away from breaking down herself. And if the first look is any indication, episode 5 might just be the one where she finally lets that mask slip. But let's not forget the external pressure, the rumors. That's the thread that holds the entire episode together. The Olympians' gossip starts spreading faster than anyone expected, and soon, it's not just a few whispers, it's full-blown doubt echoing through the ranching community. People start canceling appointments, pulling their horses, questioning Amy's methods. You can imagine how devastating that must be for her, someone who's built her entire life around helping others. The first look gives us just a taste of that heartbreak, and I can already tell it's going to be one of the most emotionally charged episodes of the season. Because this isn't about one person's opinion. It's about how easily the world turns its back when you stop being perfect. And just when you think things couldn't get more complicated, the ending of the preview drops a bombshell, one that changes everything. It's quick, almost hidden, but it's there. Nathan's saying something to Amy that makes her freeze. We can't hear the full line, but the look on her face says it all. It's not anger, not confusion, it's shock. Whether it's a confession, an ultimatum, or something about Ty, we don't know yet, but it's clear that whatever he says will shift the entire dynamic moving forward. It's the kind of moment that leaves you staring at the screen, replaying the scene in your head, trying to piece together what it could mean. And if the writers are setting this up the way it seems, episode 5 could very well be the most emotionally explosive episode of season 19 so far. So, if you ask me, this first look isn't just teasing another typical Heartland story, it's warning us. Something big is about to happen. Something that might change how we see these characters forever. And whether you love or hate the direction it's going, one thing's for sure. Heartland isn't afraid to take risks anymore. The only question now is, will those risks pay off, or will this be the episode that pushes fans too far? What's really interesting about this whole setup is how episode 5 seems to be turning Heartland's own history against itself. For years, the show has built its identity around healing, fixing broken horses, mending broken families, finding peace after chaos. But this time, the roles feel reversed. It's not Amy healing others. It's Amy who needs healing. And that changes everything. The first look doesn't show her as the calm, collected, miracle girl we're used to. Instead, we see someone who's tired, overwhelmed, and quietly breaking inside. There's this haunting moment where she stands in the barn alone, looking at the horse that refuses to trust her. You can tell she's questioning herself, not just as a trainer, but as a person. For someone like Amy, who's spent her entire life defining herself through her gift, losing that touch isn't just a professional setback, it's an identity crisis. And that's exactly where this episode hits hardest, in those small, quiet moments when Amy's strength starts to crack. But of course, Heartland wouldn't be Heartland without conflict layered on top of emotion. And this episode seems to have plenty of that. The first look makes it clear that things between Amy and Caleb are still complicated. Painfully complicated. There's a tension between them that feels heavier than before. It's not the romantic tension fans used to speculate about. It's something colder, something rooted in guilt and disappointment. Caleb wants to be supportive, but every time he opens his mouth, it feels like he's saying the wrong thing. He knows he's lost Amy's trust, and the more he tries to fix it, the worse it gets. Meanwhile, Ashley's watching all of this unfold with that quiet hurt that tells you she's had enough. You can tell she's torn. Part of her still loves Caleb, but another part is starting to realize that maybe love isn't enough anymore. It's the kind of heartbreak that doesn't come from betrayal, but from exhaustion. And honestly, that's what makes it hit so much harder. Then we have Nathan, and if there's one word to describe him in this episode, it's conflicted. From what we've seen, he's constantly teetering between being Amy's protector and being her problem. He's there when she needs help, but his presence stirs up more emotions than it calms. There's this one glance in the first look. You know, the kind that lasts half a second but says everything? That's Nathan looking at Amy, and you can practically feel the weight of everything unsaid between them. It's complicated, it's messy, and it's exactly what keeps fans arguing about whether we should even root for these two. Because on one hand, you want Amy to find happiness again, but on the other, you can't shake the feeling that this isn't the right way, that maybe she's walking into something she's not ready for. And that's what makes it so fascinating. The emotional gray area. Nothing in this episode feels clean or easy, and that's what keeps us watching. The preview also hints at something deeper happening beneath all the drama, something almost symbolic. The horse Amy's working with, the Olympian's horse that's been causing all the trouble, seems to represent more than just another training challenge. It mirrors Amy's own struggle. The horse is skittish, unpredictable, afraid of being touched. And isn't that exactly how Amy's been acting lately? Pushing people away, afraid to trust, afraid to let go of control. It's subtle, but it's powerful. It feels like the writers are using this storyline as a metaphor for Amy's healing journey. Because deep down, she's not really trying to fix the horse. She's trying to fix herself. And maybe that's why nothing she's doing is working. She's applying old methods to a new problem, and for the first time, those old ways just aren't enough. And while all of this is unfolding, the outside world keeps closing in. The gossip spreads faster, the pressure builds higher, and suddenly Amy finds herself completely cornered. There's a scene in the preview where she walks into the feed store and the conversation just stops. Everyone turns to look at her, not with admiration, but with judgment. You can almost feel the chill of that moment, the realization that her reputation isn't just slipping, it's gone. For someone like Amy, who's always been respected, that kind of public doubt is devastating. It's the kind of blow that doesn't just hurt your career, it hurts your soul. And what's worse is that she doesn't fight back. She doesn't storm out or yell. She just stands there, takes it, and walks away. That silence says everything. Then comes the confrontation that changes everything. According to what we've seen in the preview, Amy finally snaps. Not in a loud, dramatic way, but in that quiet, trembling kind of anger that hits harder than yelling ever could. She confronts the Olympian, demanding to know why he's spreading lies about her, why he's trying to ruin her reputation. But instead of denying it, he hits her where it hurts most. He tells her she's not the person she used to be, that she's lost her touch, that maybe the world has moved on without her. Those words cut deep, and you can see it in Amy's face. She's not just angry, she's devastated, because somewhere deep down, a part of her believes it's true. That moment might just be one of the most powerful in the entire season, because it's not about who's right or wrong. It's about identity, pride, and the fear of becoming irrelevant. While Amy's world starts to collapse on one side, Nathan is dealing with his own kind of chaos. He's been trying to stay strong for her, but all that bottled-up emotion is starting to spill out. He's angry at Caleb for not stepping up, angry at himself for caring too much, and angry at Amy for shutting him out. The first look hints at a late-night scene between Nathan and Caleb, and it looks intense. You can see it in their body language, the kind of conversation that starts calm but ends with someone walking out. Caleb, who's been carrying guilt like a second skin, finally pushes back, accusing Nathan of trying to replace him, of acting like he's the only one who understands Amy. And Nathan doesn't deny it. That silence between them is louder than any punch. It's like the show is saying, "You're both right, but you're both wrong." And honestly, that's what makes it so painful to watch. Meanwhile, back at the ranch, Ashley's storyline finally starts to connect to everything else. After spending the last few episodes in the background, she steps into focus again, not as Caleb's wife, but as her own person. There's this emotional moment where she confides in Lou, admitting that she doesn't recognize Caleb anymore. She talks about how love used to feel simple, how she used to trust that they were always on the same side. But now, she's not so sure. You can hear the sadness in her words, the exhaustion of someone who's been trying to fix something that doesn't want to be fixed. And Lou, being Lou, doesn't try to sugarcoat it. She tells Ashley that sometimes the hardest part of love isn't losing it. It's realizing it's already gone. That conversation feels like one of those classic Heartland moments, quiet, grounded, and painfully real. At the same time, Jack is doing what Jack does best, holding everyone together without saying much at all. The first look shows him standing in the barn doorway, watching Amy work with the horse. There's something almost fatherly in the way he looks at her. Proud, but worried. He's seen this before. He knows what burnout looks like. And even though he doesn't step in, you can tell he's waiting for the right moment. Maybe he knows Amy needs to fall before she can stand again. Maybe he's just giving her space to find her own strength. Either way, that unspoken support is what makes Jack such a grounding presence in moments like this. He's the reminder that no matter how far everyone drifts, Heartland always finds its way back to family. But that theme, family, is exactly what feels at risk this time. As rumors keep spreading and tensions rise, the entire Heartland community starts to fracture. The Fleming Bartlett family has always been the moral center of that world, the one everyone looked up to. But now, people are turning their backs. You can feel that isolation creeping in, that sense of being outsiders in their own town. Amy starts questioning whether she even belongs there anymore, whether her work still matters. And when she begins talking about taking a break from training altogether, that's when you know how serious things have gotten. Amy walking away from horses would be like Lou walking away from family. Unthinkable. But this episode seems to be daring to go there. And then there's that mysterious final shot in the preview, the one that everyone's been talking about. Amy standing by the paddock, tears in her eyes, whispering something we can't quite hear. Nathan is in the distance, watching her, his expression unreadable. It's the kind of ending that makes you pause and replay it over and over, trying to figure out what she said. Some fans think she's saying goodbye to her work. Others think it's a farewell to someone she loves. Whatever it is, the emotion behind it feels raw and final. If that scene is as powerful as it looks, it might mark the beginning of a new era for Heartland. One where Amy isn't defined by her gift, but by what she chooses to do without it.